I realized the importance of building wealth when I was 19. By the time I was 21, I bought my first investment property, and now 11 to 12 years later, I run one of the fastest growing buyers agencies, Search Property, which has bought over 1,000 properties for over 1,000 clients. So when it comes to looking rich, feeling rich and actually being wealthy, I know a thing or two because we have some high net worth clients that if you saw on the street, they look like they don't own much, but they actually own a lot. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 7 lessons that are really key principles, especially right now when you're feeling financially behind, even though you're making the most money possible while everyone else is flexing. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Hey guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because I talk about real estate, personal development, and all things financial freedom. It is so easy to get caught up in the fluff and the hype that is social media. If you went onto your social media account right now, you looked at the stories and you're like, they're rich. But I've always questioned that because real wealth, although some people like to celebrate that and show that, and that's completely a personal choice, most people that are really wealthy don't have to flash around with that. And so we're gonna go through these 7 lessons, and I promise you, it is gonna give you more clarity around where you are right now and where you wanna head. I can tell you right now, I've got really wealthy friends and I've got some not so wealthy friends. The wealthy friends never post about their stuff, and the not so wealthy friends are out and about at really fancy dinners. Number 1, flashy isn't financial freedom. If you go back to my journey at the age of 21, buying a property in regional New South Wales, it looked like crap. And to be honest, yes, I probably painted it once over that time, but in my personal opinion, it's not something I would be putting up on $1 million listings. And it definitely won't make any headlines when it comes onto realestate.com. But at that time, it was more important for me to go ahead and establish my foundation. And my foundation was going to be in property. So me purchasing that property, no one's going to see it. And at the same time, I went and spent all of the savings I had to go and purchase it. Now you compare that to the group of friends I had at the time. They were going out, they had just bought a new car. And for anyone that's around my age, I'm 32, they were out at the Cross and they were out at Marquee. They were buying tables with bottle service and whatnot. Now, if someone had seen what my Friday night looked like, compared to their Friday night, which is what's happening right now, they would have thought that these guys are wealthy. I don't know what Ravi's doing. My biggest lesson from that is I want to focus on quiet wealth, go out there and acquire assets because that is going to give me financial freedom. That income producing asset at some point is going to go and help me pay for my holidays. And they're going to be lavish as F, but that's what I want. Rather than going out there spending money on my credit card, and a lot of those people were actually spending money they didn't have. They were taking out personal loans and it ended pretty bad for them. Number 2 is that property is a long game. Stop comparing your day 1 to someone's day 100. We see it all over social media, especially here in Australia, because we have a situation of a tall poppy syndrome, as well as people being infatuated with property. I have a whole channel here, the biggest Australian real estate channel, and I still have people fight in the comments all the time. So as a nation, Australia has built more millionaires with real estate than it has with anything else. So it's fair when we have so many discussions around Australian property and how there's always success stories. Now, when you look at someone who's more successful than you need to ask yourself, do you get negative thoughts or are you inspired? Because that is going to be better reflection on where you are mentally. So right now, you could look at that and say, okay, this person has a $50 million portfolio. How does that make me feel? Does it make me feel like, why do I not have enough? Or, hey, I've only got a couple of $1 million in property. Why aren't I there? Or he must have done something. He got a handout. That's how he got there. If you have those sort of thoughts, you're probably realizing that you're not in the best mindset financially, and you need to start changing that. When I look at that, I say, that's awesome. But to me, $50 million in real estate right now doesn't really make sense for me because I've chosen to allocate some of my funds to X, Y, and Z, helping family, doing this and doing that. So to me, I'm a massive supporter. If that's what's in line with your goals, you should definitely go and do it. But for me, it's not. I'm also very aware that this stuff takes time. Usually what happens is if you go in and say, well, I want to have $10 million worth in real estate and I'm the same age as you, Ravi, but I don't have anything. Well, what were you doing at 21? You weren't doing what I was doing because my goals was drastically different. But it would be the same as if I said to you right now, I really want to go and travel heaps. I can't do that the same way I did when I was 21. Well, I've missed out on that. And that's the sacrifice I made. And so you've just got to realign what your expectations are, what your goals are, and suddenly you'll start feeling a lot better around where you need to head and use those stories as inspiration to just know that things are possible and you should really go out there and take your own. The next tip I have is build a life that you don't need to escape from. Right now, I find it very difficult to travel. And I know I've done a lot of travel over the last 12 months, but a lot of it has been to do with work or me getting married. But I find it really difficult to go and relate to people who say, oh, I can't wait till my holiday comes up. Because for me, I'm trying to design the best life possible, which I'm not having to escape from. It's like Monday morning comes around, and to me, it is so interesting that I've had moments more recently where I say, I'm so grateful that I get to wake up on Monday and do what I do. I get to go into the office, connect with people that are like-minded, and build something freaking phenomenal. And while we're doing that, we're helping a bunch of you guys build out their portfolios as well. And I compare that to when I was working in a job I didn't like. That feeling would actually kick in on Sunday morning. It wasn't even Monday morning, it was Sunday morning. I'd get the Sunday blues and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to go to work tomorrow. And I hate that feeling. So what you need to do is, if you're getting those feelings, figure out what you like and what's stopping you from going from something you don't like to something you like. Because I can promise you now, you spend so much time at work, you better be happy where you work. And with that happiness, you're gonna end up creating more value to not just yourself, but the people around you. You're the best version of yourself. And now you're suddenly making more time to learn more skills, and you're probably gonna make a lot more in the next 5 years versus just going out there, affecting your mental health, and it's just not gonna help. This is where you could be making the most money you've ever made, but still feel really unhappy and feeling like you're falling behind. If you're comparing what you're doing right now to someone else who can outwork you, the reason they're outworking you is because they love what they do. For me, I can pick up my laptop on a Saturday evening and work for a couple of hours and not feel like it's work. You can't compete with that, especially if you're doing something you don't like. So start designing your dream life. I've spoken about this in a couple of videos where you need to take some time, write down, if I was to be wealthy and I had all the money in the world, what would my dream life look like? And then just go, okay, how much of this can I achieve right now based on my income and based on my surroundings? And in line with my risk appetite, what do I need to invest into to be able to get that dream life? And suddenly you're not gonna be thinking about when your next holiday is, you're just really, really excited for the next Monday coming along. The next tip I have is reinvest in yourself. This is where a lot of joy comes from, when you're actually going out there being grateful and intentional about the money you spend. If you're someone that goes out there and says, okay, I've got to save, I can't go out, that's very negative versus, hey, I'm saving because I'm saving for a purpose. When you realign your purpose and your goals, you're living a life of intention rather than sacrifice all the time. One is very negative, which means you're probably gonna break that at some point, versus one is really positive. The best example is when it comes to fitness and having diets. If you go out there and say, oh yeah, I'm on calorie deficit, I can't go and eat that, or I can't eat that, damn, I hate my life. How long do you think you're actually gonna last doing that? Versus, hey, I'm actually investing in my health. And by reducing how many calories I have 5 days a week, on the weekends, I get to enjoy with more of the funsies, especially when I'm socializing. Now you're reinvesting in your health as well. And that's very key to you going out there, making more money, but also just being happier as a person. Now, if you are enjoying this video, smash that subscribe button, because I'm actually trying to grow this community out to more than 100,000 people in 2025. I can't get there without you smashing that subscribe button, so let's do that. Next up is comparison is the thief of joy. You might have heard this before, but one of the things that blows my mind is how people think what others are putting out on social media is their real life. I know couples that have fought that exact day, and by the end of the day, they'd have posted a photo of saying how much they love each other, to which a third person's commenting and saying, oh my God, I'm so jealous of what you guys have. And that is how warped this world is right now. Which is why I spend hardly any time on social media, because I've got so much shit to worry about myself. I don't have time to go and worry about someone else. And this is probably that turning point for yourself. If you are spending more than 2 hours on social media a day, you need to start asking yourself, is it worth it? And is it better for my mental health? If you get more clarity by just reading a book or going out for a walk for an hour versus seeing stories and just doom scrolling, you're gonna find that you're just gonna become a better human being in 3 to 6 months' time. Your life will completely change. And maybe you need to detox yourself out of social media, but what you don't wanna do is just replace that with comparing it to everyone else around you. If you're in the right circles, you shouldn't be using that comparison as a thief of joy. You should be using that as the inspiration for wealth. The next lesson I have is you're forgetting the trade-offs. This is what sacrifice is all about. You are basically saying, I'm not going to do X because Y is going to be better for my future self. And again, it's very hard to do, especially when we're in an environment where instant gratification is the key. But if you want to go and feel real wealth, you need to start putting stuff aside, investing in your future self, because I promise you, you wouldn't have regrets saying 5 years ago, if I had invested a little bit more money, I would have a little bit more, which allows me to go and do other things that I actually like. People always said to me that, oh, once you get out of high school, it's the worst time. Then they said uni is the best years of your life. Once you're out of that, you come into the real world. And that's when you're gonna get punched in the face because you have to work full time for the rest of your life. And I was like, oh, seems pretty morbid. I hate that, but okay. And then what I realized in my 20s is where you can do a bunch of things. You have so much more energy and you have more time. So you're just going out there and trying a bunch of things. And people then tell you your 20s are your best years. When you get to your 30s, you'll have more responsibility, you'll have kids, you're gonna have a family, you can't do shit after that. So I thought, okay, well, I'll take that literally and I'll just go and do as much as possible in my 20s. So I did traveling, became a nightclub promoter, I was out all the time, but I was working really hard and I invested in my future self. Because I knew at some point in my 30s, I'm gonna thank myself. And yes, I thank myself. Thank you, Ravi, from your 20s. And now I'm in a position where my 30s are so exciting. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I'm making more money than I've ever made, and I'm helping more people than I've ever helped before. That's what you need to get into, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes sacrifice. And that is the big takeaway from these lessons. I'm not sure if I got to 7, but the big takeaway is that you can't compare your day 1 to someone's day 100 and use the comparison as motivation and inspiration rather than a negative. If you can do these things, I promise you, you will be in such a better mindset and more clarity in your mindset over the next 3 months. And I want to hear from you. If you're watching this and you've already started feeling great about it, send me an email. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below if you want help with the strategy and property acquisition side of things. But if you want to just contact me, I'm going to leave my email there. I want to hear from you guys because I'm in the room by myself and I'm talking to a camera. Seems pretty silly sometimes, but hey, I still got my black t-shirt on, hey. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, it will mean the world to me if you can subscribe and just hit that like button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.